Hi, it's Dennis Daly. During my career, I went to a lot of conventions and expos, but one of the most interesting, in that I didn't really understand what was going on, was an annual show in Long Beach, California, that catered to salespeople and people interested in merchandising material aimed at young people.
Do you know that sound? It's a young person skateboarding down your sidewalk. Uh-oh. There's a great controversy going on in this country about whether or not people should be allowed to skateboard and where. Skateboarders love what they do. They fly through the air. They have great fun. They're almost scary to watch. But people who are out there skateboarding are representative of a lot of what are being called radical sports. If you watched any of the Winter Olympics, you've seen them snowboard, and that's new this year. Snowboarding, even water skiing, traditional surfing, and with that, all the music and the clothes and the wristwatches and the sunglasses, it is all becoming very big business. And watching the trends in that business is a group called Action Sports Retailers, and every year they have a huge expo here in Los Angeles. It is a huge event, and the Los Angeles event is held at the Convention Center in Long Beach. Thousands of people come there, hundreds of merchandisers, and it is all very youth-oriented. As a matter of fact, I need not tell you that walking around, I felt as if I was everybody's father. Court Overin is the director of sales and marketing. We sat down in one of the hallways of the sprawling Long Beach Convention Center talking about action sports, the continuing of the youth culture in America, and how all of that merchandising has changed in just a few years.
What's changed, I think, in our marketplace is that the whole culture that we have here at this show, the end user, the consumer that's buying this product, whether it's a surfer, a skater, a snowboarder, a wakeboarder, or just a general consumer, the common thread between all of them is music. And it's music television, and it's Hollywood pictures, and they go out to clubs to be part of that whole environment. And each one of these manufacturers from all these different groups sell product to that consumer who might be a snowboarder during the day, but at night he's going to go out to the club and he's going to, or she, and listen to music and watch music television.
Can we kind of define this in a way? I don't mean to sound judgmental, but I think a lot of us who will never see 45 again, if we skim across MTV, tend to lump a lot of the negative kind of music we hear all together. This would seem more like good time stuff, though, that there's really nothing sinister, maybe slightly anti-establishment, but nothing really dangerous about this.
I would agree completely. I think that if anything, it's slightly anti-establishment, as all of us were in our youth. I think the difference is now that really there's been a resurgence of dance music at the end of 96 and into 97, and it's really about going out and dancing and listening to music and having a lot of fun.
Court, how big of a convention is this? Before this program is over, we'll get onto the convention floor, but it just seems like this Long Beach Convention Center is a huge place, and what I've seen, I've just touched the tip of the iceberg, not to give Titanic a plug here.
It's a fairly large facility. It's over 350,000 square feet gross, and we occupy pretty much every inch of sellable space in here with manufacturers. The net square footage is about 158,000 square foot net, and within those walls we have 650 companies representing 1,100 brands, so it's big.
Some conventions like this are purely trade shows where it is manufacturers trying to get stores to sell their product. Some are strictly consumer. Is this a combination of both? Because although I've seen a lot of companies here, I've seen an awful lot of young people outside with skateboards.
Those young people that are outside with skateboards are the people who would like to attend but can't get in because they're not a portion of the trade. But there certainly are a lot of young people with skateboards inside. And why this is so consumer-friendly and why it looks like it's a consumer show is because the retailers and the manufacturers in this industry are participants in the sports that they sell, market, and trade among themselves with. So it's interesting that there are a lot of 16 to 25-year-olds that are core skaters, surfers, and snowboarders here, because if they don't work for the manufacturer designing and selling the product, they're working in a retail store selling the product to consumers.
This week on American Montage, we are at the Action Sports Retail Expo at the Long Beach Convention Center, about a half an hour from downtown Los Angeles. We are talking to Kurt Overin, who is the Director of Sales and Marketing for what is a tremendous event. It is a tribute to America's youth culture. It is snowboarding and all the other things. You've seen them in the Winter Olympics. You've seen kids on skateboards go down your sidewalks. It is big business, and we are sampling it with the man who knows all about it. The Action Sports Retailers Expo, and it is a place where marketers of things that young people like have gathered to show their wares. I mentioned skateboarding and snowboarding. It's more than that. It's traditional surfing, it's swimwear and eyeglasses, and boy, just about everything that makes the pop culture tick. We have been talking to Kurt Overin. Kurt is the Director of Sales and Marketing for ASR, and I continue my conversation. One of the fun things about all of this is, and I have not spent that much time with surfers, but I've done quite a few shows from ski lodges, and there's a guy named Stein Erikson who was an Olympic skier and now lives in Deer Park, Utah. The way he talks to customers, he's able to talk about skiing because he was there. You know, he was out there on the snow. It must really mean a lot more to the consumer when the people who are designing this stuff are the ones who are using it.
That certainly is the way it is. I myself am a participant. I've been a surfer for many, many years. I snowboard. Everyone here, pretty much everyone in this event, is a participant in one of the sports, and it makes a huge difference in understanding and having the passion for the sports, the enthusiasm, and also the inside awareness as to what's happening and what's really not happening. And this is not a convention of, for lack of a better word, posers. These are real participants. They are core to the sport, and the people here at this show do drive all the sports that are being sold here.
You know, if I didn't have such a track record of falling down and hurting myself, I would learn how to skateboard. I'm just fascinated by the kids who come down my street and they fly. I don't know how they do it, but they'll see a curb and all of a sudden it's like E.T. I mean, they're up off the sidewalk. It just amazes me.
Yeah, it is incredible to watch them skate, and that's from years and years of hard knocks. But they're very good, and we actually have a manufacturer here that has taken that to the next level, and they've created a shoe that has an insert in the bottom of the shoe that enables a kid to be running along to see a curb or to see a rail, to see a park bench, and the insert is hard plastic inside the arch of the foot, and they can jump up on the edge and they can slide just like they're on a skateboard.
Makes you wonder what's going to be next in the NBA.
Yeah, it certainly does.
Kurt, I mentioned skateboarding. Isn't that, well, maybe it isn't, but I'm thinking that has to be one of, if not the largest, one of the larger segments of the whole action sport industry as far as seeing growth recently, and that's kind of a resurgence of a trend that we saw earlier.
Yes, the skate market has always had ups and downs and had lots of growth, and then they've had periods of consolidation. Currently, the skate market represents about a third of what happens here at this show, but they have had a lot of growth. A lot of it here in Southern California is due to the ability to build skate parks without liability.
And the ability to get outside most of the year.
Yes, that makes a big difference. It's an opportunity to be outside and to be able to skate. And here in Southern California, except for the last couple of weeks, the weather's been very good.
You know, it amazes me, and I know some of them are foolhardy, and I don't know whether you've been out there or not, but with these tremendous waves we've seen coming in, some of these dyed-in-the-wool surfers, some of them older than I am, out there trying to surf these monster curls coming in.
Yeah, they're out there. I've been out there. It's a passion, and whether it's 2 feet or it's 10 feet, if you're into it, you want to be part of it. And that's what it's all about here at the show. Everybody wants to continue to participate, and age isn't a factor to anyone here. You're only as old as you feel and as you act, and no one here is acting very old.
How much of a growing part of the whole action sports industry is, again, the apparel, the wristwatches, the whole accoutrement, if you will, that goes with the sporting itself?
That's a huge portion of the market, all the way from footwear to eyewear to accessories, gear bags, those kind of things. That enables core participants to have more pieces that identify them as core participants and recognition with the sport itself. And it also enables non-core participants to be able to buy something that helps them identify with the sport, whether it's glasses or shoes.
What impact has the Winter Olympics in general had on winter sports equipment, and particularly seeing snowboarding now in the Olympics?
I think that it'll have more impact as the Olympics continue. Currently, the show is happening simultaneously with that, and we haven't been able to see anything yet because it's all been aired at different times.
But it's a given that after the Olympics is over, a lot of people who were curious about snowboarding or didn't really think it was that legitimate are going to say, hey, maybe I can go for the gold sometime.
No, I would definitely agree, and I think it's going to show people the excitement of snowboarding, and that snowboarding is like surfing on a big mountain, and it also is going to show people that they can go out there and they can try it, and when they do, they're going to find out that the learning curve on snowboarding is probably one of the easiest things they've ever done.
Cord Overend is the Director of Sales and Marketing for the ASR Trade Expo, and I continue my discussion with him. Cord, let me get into an area here just for a brief moment, because I know I would be remiss if I didn't ask about this, and that is the problems that come when this rather active, youth-oriented, mostly skateboarding, comes in conflict with those of us who'd like to have the sidewalk to ourselves. What advice would you give to people on both sides of that argument as far as coexisting in all of this?
I think it's all about tolerance. I think just as when everyone out there who has been young at one time, they're rebels, they want to push, they want to try and be different. Skaters are just trying to express themselves and have a great time, and they've been pushed by legislation and by cities creating ordinances that don't allow them to skateboard in certain areas at certain times to be more of a renegade and a rebel than they really should be. And there is a lot of legislation that's currently in the works that's allowing skateboarders to skate in certain areas, creating skateboard parks without liability. So I think the message is tolerance, and things will change, and there are really a lot of great kids out there that are skaters.
Kurt, one final thing. People listening to this will have missed this show by the time this program airs. People know that the show is live on tape. But the next one coming up is San Diego, a smaller one in Atlantic City. When are those? And do you have to be a company to be there? If a person is a company and wants to contact you, what should they do between now and then?
The next show is in September. It's the 10th to the 12th in San Diego. We also have the Atlantic City show, which is the 16th through the 18th. That's in September also. If you are not a retailer or a manufacturer, you will not be able to attend the show. But if you are a manufacturer of these products, you just need to contact the ASR Trade Expo offices. We're in Laguna Beach, California, and we can help you understand how to do the show and how to be a participant in it.
I don't mean to sound like the Laguna Beach Chamber of Commerce, but my listeners know I just moved out here this past year. Laguna Beach is one of the neatest places and has some of the best little restaurants I think I've ever been in.
Yes, it does. We work right in downtown Laguna, just off Main Beach, and every day is a new dining experience. That's for certain. Plus, we have the beautiful weather and the waves, and it's a great place to do business.
Cord, thanks for taking the time to talk to us. I'm going to let you go. I know every journalist in America wants to talk to you, and I want to wander around the floor and soak up some of this youth culture.
Well, have a great time, and thanks for being here. We've enjoyed it.
And so, with my press pass, I entered the Long Beach Convention Center, expecting to see swimwear and sunglasses and surfboards, and yes, before we leave, we'll see all of that. But one of the first persons I ran into was Henry Janik of Da Vinci Clothing. His company has some of the most beautiful shirts I think I've ever seen, and not just for kids. I think a lot of people, unless they have young kids, are unaware of how everything seems to be tied together now in sports merchandising and how much apparel and clothing are a part of this. What you have here looks a little bit more upscale than some of the things. Could you tell me how important it is, for example, for you to be here at a merchandising convention like this?
Sure, Dennis. We're here because many stores from all over the country. We get customers all the way over from Japan. I opened up an account in England. I've got customers now in Denmark that I never had before. So not only is this show a vehicle for me globally, but also a lot of accounts, whether they're in here in Southern California, throughout the United States. This is a very important show for stores, alternative boutique stores, department stores, you name it. They come here to find clothing to put into the stores going forward.
I don't mean to overstate this, but it would seem as when I was a kid, you couldn't get enough of everything British over here in the U.S., that there is this fascination around the world with anything American, particularly youth-oriented.
Well, I agree, and I'm one of those people, a firm believer in Made in the USA, which all of our product is. Basically, a little bit about our company. We're an old original company that was started back in 1952, and basically what we've done is we've taken our old original designs from the archives and just brought them back and reproduced them. And I sell to some of the finest stores in the country, including Bloomingdale's and Neiman Marcus.
What has been the reaction of what a lot of people call retro fashions?
Well, I get compliments every day, by the way, and the product continues to retail very well. We get compliments. Again, if you take a look at what I'm featuring here, you'll see that everything is unique. We copy nobody. All of our prints that we do are original prints that we've taken off of our own screens. The workmanship on the embroideries, these are all detailed.
Some of the prettiest shirts I think I've ever seen.
Well, thank you very much.
You know, one other thing is we've traveled around the country, we've met so many wonderful people, and there in the midst of the ASR Trade Expo was Rick Creco. He has to be one of the most personable people I've ever met. He was standing there by a display of badges and buttons and iron-ons, and I've looked at swimwear and surfboards and sunglasses and sandals. You're doing stickers. Some of this is really neat. I first saw the doors as I walked up. That goes back to my generation. It brought back a lot of memories.
We still sell the heirloom stuff best. Doors, Zeppelin, Grateful Dead is our biggest seller. We sell a lot of groups I've never heard of. Marilyn Manson currently has been the hottest sticker we've had in the last couple months. I haven't a clue who he is, but the kids that are here know. I
don't mean to be judgmental, but I'm glad you don't know who Marilyn Manson is.
I don't care who they are. My father sold ladies' dresses for Sears for 25 years. He didn't wear them. I don't have to listen to Pantera. I just have to do the best Pantera sticker that is available.
Some of these stickers are absolutely gorgeous. How do you work with the merchandising? You have independent artists do this? Do you get the art from the group? How does this all work?
It depends on the group. The Grateful Dead has probably been the smartest of the rock groups. They encourage their licensees to develop art using their images. And so most of our Grateful Dead art is original. We work with a number of their artists, cover artists, a number of independent artists. Other groups such as Marilyn Manson, Pantera, most of your more modern groups don't encourage outside art. They send us either the album art or the tour art, and we just reproduce it as a sticker.
You mentioned that the Doors, Led Zeppelin are very popular. In a way, that kind of makes me feel good, because as I started here, that's part of my generation. I was in a restaurant a couple of weeks ago, and there's a young kid puts money in the jukebox, and it plays Light My Fire. And I'm singing along with it. And he looks over at me and said, "Do you know that song?" I said, "What do you mean, do I know that song? I met Jim Morrison once. I thought he was going to kiss my feet." He was absolutely amazing. And I said, "You have to realize if Jim Morrison were alive, he'd be older than I am."
Well, the Rolling Stones are still touring, and they're the hottest group. We just signed a license with them, and we'll have Stone stuff selling, and I'm sure it's going to sell to our 18-year-olds. I spoke with a 15-year-old, this goes back, showing my age, about 20 years ago. Mid-70s, I was playing Jimi Hendrix at the store that I started at, and he comes in, listens to it, and says, "Gee, this guy's great. Does he ever tour?"
I was working part-time 20 years ago at a big band station. I love to tell this story. And this young kid calls up, and he said, "Do you know if Glenn Miller is going to be in the area anytime soon?" Absolutely serious, wasn't joking. And I said, "Well, I hate to tell you this, Mr. Miller died in a plane crash," and his question was, "When?" as if he just missed it on the news. But that's the wonderful thing about music. It's eternal. Good recordings sound as good today as they did 50 years ago.
The old stuff still sells fabulous. I mean, we're selling Doors, Zeppelin, Pink Floyd. Our biggest problem is trying to get approvals in a lot of these groups. Grateful Dead still sells, and I think in 20 years we'll still be selling Grateful Dead stuff. It's shocking to me. I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't listen to what my parents listened to. Now they don't seem to care. They don't realize that Mick Jagger could be their grandfather. He's old enough to be my father.
One final thing. Are most of these for windows? Are they sew-on? Where would we see these patches? Some of them are appliques, obviously, but where will all of this show up?
Well, it doesn't show on radio. What you're pointing to are stickers. Those are in the backs of VW buses and cars. School lockers, our Beavis and Butthead stuff, I hope ends up on every school locker in the high schools in the country.
Okay, and the sew-ons I didn't see are behind me over here.
The patches go on backpacks, blue jeans, denim jackets. I don't really care where they put them as long as they pay for them from one of the stores.
Rick, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
We turn our attentions next to Mike Mendeville, whose sales corporation is in Ontario, California. He represents a tremendous number of very familiar brands. I was attracted by his booth by what looked like short surfboards, but they're actually bodyboards for people like me who are afraid to get on the big ones.
When they first were introduced, they were for people like, let's say, tourists or people that didn't really know too much, and they instead of going out there and swimming, they go out there and just float around. And sure, yeah, people use these in lakes. Even people use them in rapids and rivers and stuff like that.
I guess what I'm driving at is your audience is more national than the temptation would be to think of it.
Correct. People all over the world bodyboard. It's, again, Performance and Wave Rebel make a high-performance bodyboard where you would ride that board at Pipeline or in places.
Now, Pipeline is what?
Like Pipeline is like in Hawaii. On the
oh, okay.
shore.
No, those really big curls.
The really, really big waves. Like I was saying, that the bodyboard was designed basically for more tourists to float on. People use them out in the lakes. But we make a pretty high-end bodyboard, but at a really good price for a consumer to go out and actually purchase a nice, high professional board.
Has it progressed to the fact that there are competitions now? I mean, is this beginning to be organized the way surfing has become?
Well, yeah. Obviously, with global organizations as far as bodyboard tours around the world, print media like Pitt Magazine and stuff like that, it really, really helps us out a lot. Obviously, it helps our sales out because there's more exposure. People are more aware of what's actually going on, and in return, it turns into sales. That's where we can get money to develop better product.
One final question. How can you stand here helping salespeople when across the way they're selling swimwear with models?
Well, God gave us two eyes, and you keep one eye on the customer and the other one on the girl over there in the bikini.
Michael, thanks a lot.
No problem.
Yes, I will tell you that swimwear is much a part of this convention. It is outdoors, it's young people, it is the youth culture, and all the pretty people all rolled into one. We've been talking to Mike Mendeville, who represents a lot of the companies that are displaying their wares at the annual convention, the big convention of action sports retail products. Steve Croft is with a company called Croquis that sells some of the most wonderful eyeglasses and wristbands and things I think I've ever seen. I was impressed first by the part of the country from which he comes, Jackson, Wyoming. That is one of my favorite places in the world up there.
Yeah, I mean, we're blessed to have our company located there. The company's 20 years old this year, so it started there. We also have a hardware division that makes ski poles and backpacks, avalanche equipment. That's kind of the roots of the company, and then the sunglasses and accessories grew out of that over the years, and it's become a pretty big part of the community there.
Is it Bill Briggs? Do you know him? He was the first person to ski down Grand Teton. What a character.
Yeah, he still plays every Sunday at the Stagecoach in Wilson, his little band, and he's still the ski school director at Snow King, which is the local ski hill in town.
Nice guy. Let's talk, if we can, about sunglasses, first of all. Yours are very, very high fashion, beautiful frames, going along with this youth-oriented look, if you will. I, having just moved to California, was totally unaware of really how bright the sun is. I found it out, though, in Jackson, that it's not just the sun in the normal sense. If you're in snow country, you have this incredible glare. It must just be more than fashion. I mean, a lot of people must really, as they get more active in sports, be concerned about protecting their eyes.
Well, everybody's familiar with the sun aspect of it, but as you mentioned, when you increase the elevation, and Jackson's at 6,300 feet, and so the atmosphere is thinner, so the harmful rays are more, there's more of them getting through, so the need for protection is more important. During the winter sports, you get a tremendous amount of glare off the snow, whether you're snowboarding or skiing or just hiking, in the woods or out on the elk refuge. So that glare and the altitude make good sun protection even more important at high altitude.
How much of an upsurge in this fashion business for sports have you seen with the popularity of a lot of the more radical sports, the popularity of MTV, this whole music culture?
Well, the ski industry, has dominated the winter sports for so many years, but honestly, it got pretty flat and stagnant over the last 10 years maybe, and the emergence of snowboarding has been a breath of fresh air. It's of course brought new people in to the winter sports market. It's also forced the ski industry to innovate, because the skiers were going to snowboarding, and in order for these ski companies to keep their customers and to get kids in it, which will grow to be valued customers over the years, they needed to innovate. So there's a whole new group of innovation in skis, parabolic skis, shape skis, whatever you want to call them. But that's a result of snowboarding. So this culture has changed everything.
Well, you're going to see, I think, a lot more once there's more exposure at the Olympics going on in Japan, and it's only going to be 4 years when they're going to be at Park City, Utah. Right. So it's going to be a huge domestic wave.
Oh yeah, I mean, the snowboarding kind of started here as far as mainstream goes, and it's gone to Europe, and the Olympics this year with the half pipe and then the traditional slalom and giant slalom races is going to be a huge boost to snowboarding. And then all the accessories that go along with snowboarding, and that's where we fit in: the sunglasses, the watch bands, the hats, apparel. We kind of are accessories to the main products. So,
how did the name Croakies first get started? Is there a story behind that? Or can you tell it on the air?
No, it's the gentleman that invented the product. His name is Robbie Fuller, and at the time he was a ski patrolman at Jackson Hole Ski Area. And that ski patrol word for a thingamajig or a whatchamacallit was a croaky. I don't know where.
It's kind of like a what's it?
Yeah, a whatchamacallit.
Yeah, what's that croaky sticking up out of the snow?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So when he invented this product, and then he started manufacturing them, that's kind of the way it came. And then, of course, the name is trademarked and whatnot. So it's grown from there.
One final thing, how important is it for you as a merchandiser to be at a trade convention like this and get the exposure?
It's vital to our success. We live in Jackson. It's a town in Wyoming of 5,000 people. The whole state is only 400,000 people. And although people in our company are from different parts of the country, if we don't get out and show our goods and travel the country and the world, really, because we do trade shows in Europe, we're not going to be able to see what's going on. And this is such a pervasive thing happening with this skate, snowboard culture that, if we're not here to see what's going on, we're going to be missing the boat. And at some point, it'll, in a negative way, affect our business.
Well, Steve, you've got some beautiful products here. I'll let you go back to the paying customers, as it were. And thanks for taking the time to join us, and thanks for cleaning my glasses.
Sure, anytime.
Steve Proff's reference to cleaning my glasses was the fact I had walked up and saw some lens cleaner and mentioned to him that my bifocals had gotten sprayed with something. I don't know what it was, and he took out some Croakies lens cleaner and just cleaned away, and all of a sudden I could see again. We are at the ASR, the Action Sports Retailers Trade Expo at the Long Beach Convention Center, about a half hour from downtown Los Angeles, starting with Court Overend, who is the Director of Sales and Marketing. My thanks again to him.
A noisy, fun, and good time at the Long Beach Convention Center. I'm Dennis Daly.